familiar with this scene. If only we could live like lions, self-reliant, courageous, majestic and just. But is leadership a birthright, or can anyone take that pride of place? And how does happiness fit into all of this? Welcome to another dose of happiness. My name is Vasudha, and I'm about to take you all on a journey that will be exploring the topic that is constantly present in some way and in every stage of our lives. I'm talking about leadership and what it can do for our happiness. And what's more exciting is I have two of the most inspiring, dynamic, and indeed very successful leaders in their respective fields and walks of life to explore this topic with us today. So without any further delay, let's get right into it and meet our guest. He's a leader in the accounting, business advisory and finance field. Originally born in Fiji, he migrated to Australia at the age of 16. From a very young age, he showed the early signs of mastering the field of accounting and finance, and after completing his tertiary studies, he joined the ANZ Bank in their graduate program, progressing to a successful career in business banking with ANZ and National Australia Bank. He has also served and taken leadership roles in various community and sporting organisations. Currently, he's a director and partner in the accounting firm Zimson Partners and continues his community involvement, being the current chairman of the Indian Executive Club. A father of two children and a passion for sports, we have a well-rounded individual in our hands whose noble aim in life is to help humanity progress. Please welcome to the show, Vinay Sharma. Welcome, Vinay.
Hello, Vasudha, and hello to all your viewers out there.
So to get things going, I'd like you to inspire me. That's right. Studies have shown people who are driven by a strong purpose have often been found to be happier or more content with their lives. So here's your opportunity to inspire us to follow a path, and let's see how you do it.
Great question, and I think the real essence there is, your question about the strong purpose. So let me share the strong purpose of why I live in life. And for me, it's about every day and every moment in life being what I call selfless servant of society. And every day and in every moment making difference to the humanity, helping humanity to progress. And underlying these strong purpose are actually two pillars. And the first pillar is what I call is my values. And the two important ones here are integrity, and second is right action. And then the second pillar is capabilities. Now, in terms of the capabilities, if I need to serve humanity, I need to be best at what I am. So what that then leads to is for me to actually find what sort of strengths I've got, or what's my passion. And that's why in early days of my life, I've discovered this passion for business. So it was in this field that I wanted to help people. So thereby I worked hard to sort of get all the qualifications and everything. And then obviously the first role that I undertook was the role with ANZ Bank in the business banking division, and then later on with NAB as well. And today I still continue to help business clients with my accounting profession as well. Now, not only in the paid job environment, it is also important to sort of go out there and serve the community as well. So various roles, that I have taken, and today, my involvement is with the Indian Executive Club, and working with a pretty dynamic team there. And the whole objective there is helping the executives and the SME businesses from the Indian diaspora, by helping them with supporting, recognizing and profiling them.
So like you just said, that you always like to be the best at what you do. Keeping that sort of a mentality, do you feel that ego can sometimes creep in, and how do you keep that at bay or keep that at check?
I think it's a very good point, and it's important that you sometimes, yes, you have those situations that when you're really striving to be the best, that challenge can come in here. And I think the best way to actually keep in check is you actually go back to your purpose again. And when
values.
Correct. And when I go back to my values and my purpose, I think that enables me to keep the ego in check.
Now, Vinay, in a documentary directed by Vikram Gandhi, Vikram is depicted to lead a group of individuals who have full faith in him. He says that it was the way that he held a certain set of values and ideals, values just as you mentioned. And in that process, he became his ideal self. So clearly, in order to influence another, it is crucial to lead by example?
I think it's extremely important, to lead by example. And if I allow me to expand a bit more on that, and I think, there's two books that I actually hold very close to my heart, and I reread it as much as I can, so I can really grasp, the essence of the messages that actually come out from that. The first one is the, known to be the bestseller in the world, still is, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the second one is a book called Sai Baba's Mahavakya on leadership, written by Dr. Chiba. Now, Mahavakya is a Sanskrit word, and in English it means the great utterance. So let me go to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think if you read the book, some of the concepts that I've actually come across, or that sort of made a big difference to me, I think his concept about the inside out, meaning you need to be strong inside first and then out. And if you look at all his habits, the first 3 habits are basically about character, having strong character. So I think to me that tells the importance of leading by example. Then when we go to Dr. Chiba's book, I think to actually summarize it, he summarizes the leadership process in 4 key words, and it's about to be, to do, to see, and to tell. Now, to be is pretty much the capability piece that we sort of discussed previously, and to do is pretty much you got to practice what you preach. To see, I think, is probably challenged at the moment in the environment we live. I mean, his view is to see means that you need to be visually seeing what's happening, like if you're leading something. Not these days with the laptops and everything, how things are managed, so it's pretty difficult to do this. And to tell pretty much means, leading your team, telling them what to do. But I think it goes back to once again where it comes to, like, if you really look at to be and your to do, if they're not right, then your to see and to tell will not work. So once again, reading those and having the experience, I mean, in my view, leading by example is extremely important.
And that's something that you go by, of course, very closely, as you just said. The 2 books that you obviously keep falling back onto every now and then. Correct. So, it's just a constant reminder that it's about leading by example. It's about practicing what you're preaching. Excellent.
So there's a sugarcane plant here, Vasudha, and I can say, Vasudha, if you chew that sugarcane, it's sweet.
Now, let's focus on the recipient of one's leadership and how they attain happiness. I understand that an event that you mark as a major turning point in your life was coming 3rd in an inter-school accounting competition. Now, this gave you the confidence to say sky was your limit. So in your opinion, how important is building confidence for those around you and yourself at a professional and a personal level? Are you able to share any examples?
I think the example that you just shared is probably the best example that I can sort of explain a bit more. And I think you're talking about confidence. For me, it's confidence plus it's also recognition as well. Now, in the journey of your life, you meet a lot of good people with a lot of wisdom, and I had the opportunity to do that. And I remember an example once a teacher gave me, and as you mentioned, being from Fiji, was actually a farm boy myself. So one of the farmings that we used to do was sugarcane farming. So it was pertinent that an example of sugarcane was used to get a message across to me, and the example was this. So there's a sugarcane plant here, Vasudha, and I can say, Vasudha, if you chew that sugarcane, it's sweet. So you got 2 options. You either take my word for it, or secondly, you go and actually chew it. Now, when you actually go and actually yourself chew it, so what you're doing is you're taking your actions, you're chewing it, and you're really getting the sense of the sweetness. So if I reflect back to that event that you're talking about, it was first time in Australia, and quite young, very daunting, massive country away from family, and there was a lot of fear that where I am, where am I gonna go? You don't have support with your parents and everything. So how can I be relevant in this country? Should I be here, staying here? Should I be going back? And I'm quite sure that what I'm sharing is probably majority of what most of the migrants community do face.
I'm sure.
So, when it came to the point that I was really giving up, this was something that was a very big thing for me at that time, because I had a placing of third, then straight away told me, gosh, there's capabilities in me.
Not worth it.
Gosh, if there's something I can do in Australia. I am. It's huge. It's not. It's not something that's beyond me. And the resultant confidence and then things that I now later reflect that it did to me was was extremely important. So I kind of tasted it, and then as I started interacting with people, as I started having leadership roles, as I started helping people, the recognition factor to me was very important. And with the recognition came confidence. So, it's an interplay as well. So it's confidence, here was the recognition. So, for example, if you are having some conversation with your staff where, situations are challenging, so either directly or indirectly, I need to see where the confidence level is and what do I need to do to build that confidence. Now, sometimes it's a direct action, sometimes it's indirect action, and once you build that level of confidence, you set some goals, you set some achievable targets, and most importantly, the recognition. Now, recognition not only has to be in a big monetary term, but simple things, well done, and it's more comes to, I think, what we call is positively encouraging.
Positive reinforcement.
Absolutely, positive reinforcement. So I think very crucial.
So you feel that you first need to get the recognition and then your self-confidence builds, or do you feel you could even have it vice versa?
I think you could have both ways. Say, for example, if the self-confidence is really down, you probably then need to build a recognition to sort of start pulling that confidence up a bit.
Sure.
Or you could have a situation where people are very self-confident, so how do you get them to engage it to the next level? Then that's probably the recognition piece.
And as we spoke about earlier, you've got the ego factor for those people who are just overly confident and who aren't very receptive.
Correct. That absolutely has to be managed as well.
Right. Excellent. Now, Vinay, when motivating others, what do you consider more important, the reward or the purpose?
Predominantly, it's the purpose. But, there are circumstances where the reward becomes important. An ideal example is children. At a certain age, it'd be difficult for them to understand the purpose. So if you are trying to reward them, if they're just trying to focus on purpose and not reward them, you could sort of lose the engagement from them. There's also situations where both becomes important. And I think these days, working for any organization, you would have had the concept of the balanced scorecard. So it's not only the results, it's how you achieve the results. So you could see that's a model that actually considers both the reward and the purpose important as well.
Whereas at times, sometimes it's just the purpose that you're really focusing on. And
absolutely. Predominantly, as I say, it's the purpose, but you also need to be respectful. There are sometimes circumstances that the others are important as well.
Very true. In the movie The Lion King, Mufasa provides these wise words to Simba. Everyone you see exists together in a delicate balance. As a king, you need to understand that balance and respect all the creatures, from the crawling ant to the leaping antelope. How important is it to know your staff and respect each one's strengths and weaknesses?
Look, it's vitally important, because I think that's one of the key essence about leadership. It's about understanding your people. And why you need to do that, the answer is very simple. Once you say, we look at the environment of work, once you understand your staff's strength, you then exactly know which responsibilities to assign to them. And if any human being works on their strength, what naturally happens? They're confident, they're happy, and they deliver.
And you're empowering them.
Absolutely. And when a staff is happy, they deliver, your whole work environment is happy. And this happiness then translates not only within the work environment, it then translates to the clients they're interacting. It then translates into that family. So with enthusiasm, they want to come to work, they want to do work. With enthusiasm, they want to then leave work and then come back. So it's vitally important. Weaknesses, it's the important thing there is it needs to be recognized. And it's also got to be mutually accepted as well, because you just can't be living in denial to say, look, I don't have a weakness. And once that is identified, then it becomes a responsibility for the leader how to mitigate that. And sometimes these situations can be like your training programs and everything, and once that's done, then it's up to the staff to actually respond to that as well.
So when you say that it's important to acknowledge the weaknesses, do you mean have an open discussion with the employee, or how do you really address it with the employee in the team environment, or just with the leader? And
look, it can be a bit of both, because on a team basis it could be addressed, because sometimes there are team goals, why we didn't achieve this, what happened, what's the customer response, what's the customer complaints, and sometimes it's on the individual basis as well. So it'll be a bit of both. But I think the key for your question is there's 4 key elements that you identify there. I think one, you mentioned the word staff, second, respect, and thirdly, obviously, strength and weaknesses. So staff, what we need to understand is we're dealing with human beings. So respect, important value, and then obviously strength and weaknesses, as I've said before, it's part of every human being. And if everything was perfect, life would have been very boring.
Of course. We did talk about communication, so I'd like to ask, what are the 3 qualities of a leader that you think we can all work on to be happier individuals? So how do you think if one of the subordinates actually acknowledges that there is a weakness in their leader, how does the subordinate, or how are they expected to actually communicate that with their leader?
The key is the communication, and I think here the challenge is more on the leader than the subordinate, to be extremely honest. Because I mean that's honestly how I think so, because if the leader doesn't have that ability to respect the subordinate, they don't have that ability to receive that feedback, then you need to question why you are a leader. And I think it goes back to the essence of all the questions that you asked in the beginning, the ego, the respect and everything, and I think that's where the very essence of the answer to this question is.
But I think there's also that challenge for the subordinate to win that sort of that confidence in their leader, and also it's of course the leader's responsibility to allow that trust to be.
Absolutely. And look, it's a mutual obligation, but I think if it is a mutual obligation, but who's it's the most obligation will have to be the leader.
Excellent. And so that kind of really flows into our last question. Now, we did talk about communication, so I'd like to ask, what are the 3 qualities of a leader that you think we can all work on to be happier individuals?
I think the first quality is really the integrity piece, and the world has tons of examples of leaders that have acted on integrity and leaders that have not. And there's enough results or things out there for people to analyze and make up their mind on that. The second key thing is capability. I think you've got to be extremely, coming back to again what we discussed initially, you've got to be extremely best at your capabilities in order to be able to serve your people, and keeping a check with the ego that you mentioned. Third one is the effective communication. Now you've got to be a very effective communicator. I'm reminded by a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. A genuine leader is not a seeker of consensus, but a molder of consensus. And what he really means there is how you effectively communicate to get the buy-in from your subordinates. And to close off, I think you know when you have effectively communicated something is when you've asked, say, for example, your subordinate to do something, even a challenging task, even a task that they were not wishing to do, but smilingly and enthusiastically they accept it and they go ahead to do that task.
And so the ultimate question, how do you link or relate leadership to happiness?
I think the answer is pretty easy, to be extremely honest. It just goes back to what we have been discussing. In the end of the day, if your subordinates, meaning your staff, your team member, your family, your community, if they're happy with all the actions and the initiative you've taken, that ultimately leads to happiness for myself as well.
I'm sure you'll all agree, Vinay's knowledge, inspiration and experience has provided us with a deeper understanding into the world of leadership and just how much it can help each one of us on our journey to become our ideal self. Be sure to join us next time for part 2 of this topic, where we will be joined by the very entertaining and talented founder of Mind Modeling, Nathan Naidu. In the meantime, I leave you with one question. If you were the king of the jungle, the world, what would you do to make it a happier place? Think about it and join me next week with the aim to find an answer to this question. I look forward to having your company next time. Until then, keep smiling.
Leadership is good communication. And what I mean by that is there's an art to oratory and to being able to communicate the visions and the missions to whatever one aspires to. So communication itself is very important. Thirdly, competence. One must be highly competent in what you do. Without that, you won't develop the following that is so necessary for leadership. On the back of that is a strong commitment to a cause.